Hi, I'm Amy.
I'm Laura.
And we are TwoPaperGirls.
Today we're doing our July wrap-up and August TBR. We can't believe it's August already. We both have really bad time perception. We're like, summer's almost over, we're basically finished third year, which is just ridiculous. But as you know, the Booktube-A-Thon was this month and that was amazing. It's definitely the highlight of the month and it's when we read the most. So we're just going to quickly show you what we read then, but then talk about the little other things we read this month.
These aren't all the books that we read during Booktube-A-Thon. We read quite a bit each, but go check out our video on our Booktube-A-Thon wrap-up to see what else we read this month because we can't really cover all of this. We summarise them a bit better in that video.
Aside from the Booktube-A-Thon, I read 2 books this month. Outside of that, one of them was one that I mostly read during the Booktube-A-Thon. But the first one I read this month was The Enchanted by Renee Denfeld. I really loved this a lot. My love for it has kind of died down because it was at the very start of the month for me. But this was a really great story. I was in the mood for something that was well written and wasn't about teens and in love and all that kind of stuff. It's a really dark tale about being on death row, and it was a very emotional story about kind of freedom, and it had a lot of meaning and metaphors. It put me back into A-level literature mode, and I just really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars because it's still I'm still thinking about it a bit. It's kind of stuck with me and I feel like it's definitely one I want to reread.
And the only other book that I read apart from Booktube-A-Thon was Air of Fire by Sarah J Maas. Me and Laura are kind of buddy reading this series, but she goes first and then I read it next. And it's really nice because Laura gets to tell me about her feelings on the book, and then I get to go into the book being a little bit prepared. Yeah. Air of Fire was a bit I don't know, I wasn't expecting it to be great because of Laura's reviews of it's so nothing happens. But I really fell in love with Rowan and I really liked them as not even a couple. I just really shipped them as best friends. I did kind of ship them as a couple to begin with. But now I absolutely adore it. I skip Manon's chapters. Don't like her, she's boring, I don't want her in it. Laura knows the spoiler, which makes me upset, but it's going to be okay. I hope Kael's okay. I hope my Dorian's going to be okay. Overall, this book was quite good. It was better than I thought it was going to be, so that's why I liked it a bit more. So I think I gave it about 3.5, 4 stars.
And the last thing I finished reading this month was Clockwork Prince, which I read about 2/3 of during the Booktube-A-Thon, and I finished it while I was really ill in bed with the flu. But this was really good. I have this thing with the Infernal Devices where I read the first half and I'm like, this is very average. It's just nah, I don't care. And then there's always a twist and I'm always I didn't know that was gonna happen. And then I just can't put it down, and the ending was great. I'm such a shipper now. Not Will, he can just sod off. But I don't want to say. Is it a spoiler? No. Henry and Charlotte, I love them. They had a really nice moment at the end that was adorable. I love Jem, he's perfect. I'm actually really excited to finish this trilogy now because I feel like I'm just always going to be this is average and boring, and then the ending's always really good and make me want to pick up the next one straight away. But I'm reading City of Lost Souls next because I'm reading them in publication order. So I'll get around to Clockwork Princess eventually. But yeah, this is actually really good.
So we don't usually do this, but we're going to do an amalgamated TBR and wrap-up today because we haven't really talked much about our wrap-up because of the Booktube-A-Thon. So here's our TBR books for the month.
The first book I want to finish reading this month, because I've already started it, I'm about 100 pages in, is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Kael's over at Kael's Corner and Casey from A Basket Casey Reads both buddy read this, and it was in their wrap-ups of last month, I think. And just the way they described it, which I can't remember now, but the way they described it just really made me want to read it, and I haven't really had that incentive to pick it up yet. And our friend Leah, who is obsessed with V.E. Schwab, said I should read this one next. So I'm giving it a go and it's really good. I'm really enjoying it so far.
One of the books I want to read this month is The Enchanted because Laura's just read this and she said it's really good and it takes back to A-level English, and I want to feel that way before going into our final year of university. And it's about prisoners on death row, and I'm really into Orange is the New Black at the minute, so I'm all about the prison life. So I'm just really looking forward to a bit of a deep, I dropped the books, a bit of a deep adult read compared to all the YA stuff that I've been reading recently.
And the next thing I'm going to read, which you've all probably already finished because I'm determined to finish Vicious before I pick this up because I don't want to split Vicious in half, is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Obviously I wasn't very hyped about this at all. I didn't even try and get play tickets, but then everyone's gone to the play and said it's really good, and lots of people have mixed feelings on this, but I really want to go to the play now. And I saw it in the shop and I was like, I gotta get it on the day it comes out and just hold it in my hands because there was so much Harry Potter hype. And I don't really know much about the plot. I've kind of stayed away from spoilers, but I just flicked through it and seen names like Vernon and Dumbledore, and I was like, oh my god! So I'm really, really hyped now.
One of the things I definitely want to get round to this month is A Court of Thorns and Roses, because everyone's raved about this, being very smutty and fey. And since Lady Midnight, I'm just all for my slutty fairies. I just want to read a love story, and I love Beauty and the Beast. I'm on the Emma Watson Beauty and the Beast hype, and that's going to be great. And I just think I'm going to really enjoy this. It's going to be a nice respite between starting uni reading again.
The next thing I want to read is Winger by Andrew Smith, because you might remember we did a video like 5 books we want to read this summer, so if I've read one of them, Winger is on that list. Actually, all of this list is basically those books, because I'm like, oh, summer's ending, I need to read them all. And this looks kind of massive, so I'm kind of worried I won't get around to it, but it looks really quick, it's really spaced out and stuff, so I do think I will read this, hopefully. I really want to. Anyway, I need to find out what Andrew Smith's all about.
The next thing that I want to read was a bit of a surprise to me, actually. It's Butter by a guy called Eric Lang. Apparently it's about a guy who eats himself to death, or at least attempts to. And I think that's just generally good, because that's what I've been doing over my summer. I want to relate. No, it's not good. Let's not do this. But I like it. Look at how yellow it is. That's basically it. I'm just like a moth at the minute. I'm being attracted to the light, and just something light and not funny. I assume it's going to be funny, even though it's quite a hard topic. But I've got a few like graphic novels and like the adult book in Enchanted, so I'm just going to read something a bit quick and YA-ish.
The next thing that I really need to read is The Life of Pi by Jan Martel, because it's on my top 5 list books to read over summer, and I don't want to let summer pass and not read it, because then I'll say again, oh, I need to wait till summer, and I won't read it again. And if you watched our bookish resolutions catch up, which I'll leave down below, I said about how this is still something I need to do. It just seems quite heavy going, so I'm thinking I'll listen to the audiobook to get into it while I read something light like Winger, or maybe Harry Potter. And yeah, and then hopefully get into it with the audiobook and then read the rest of it and really enjoy it. And if I read this slowly, I don't really mind, because I do know the plot, so because I've seen the film. So if this takes me a month to read, but I do get through it and enjoy it, then I'll be happy.
Another thing I want to read is Through the Woods, because it's a nice graphic novel, it's pretty and it's a bit creepy. And if I'm in bed one night and I don't really want to pick up a big book, I can just read this and it will be great.
Speaking of big books, look what I'm going to read this month.
It's so pretty.
I'm
just going to look at her behind.
I actually don't really like this cover, because it just looks like really badly photoshopped compared to the American cover. Something about the blue on the back, I don't know. Anyway, that's a different discussion. This is huge. But as with all these books, it's on my list of things I want to read over summer, and I want to have read this by the time Empire of Storms comes out, so that I like still have a month in between or something like that, because that's the start of September. I just need to catch up with this series. It's another goal, is to catch up with this series, and it's going really well. I like to have a little break in between them, but it's been a good month or two since Air of Fire. And I'm really hyped for this one, because even though Air of Fire felt a bit and like a bit of a filler book, this seems to be like everyone's coming back together for some awesomeness, and I'm just really excited.
And the last thing I want to read this month is something that was on my TBR last month, so I'm actually going to prioritise it, because I still need to not get into these, because I'm a fan, I like it, but at the minute, because like Walking Dead Season 7's coming out in October, I'm just all up in that Robert Kirkman hype, and this is just, I don't know, it's just a bit like, it needs some, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's on volume 3 and that on volume 27, so of course I'm going to be more involved. But this is generally a really good graphic novel. It's a bit creepy, it's got a story, it's really good. I recommend it if you want something a bit different.
And the last thing I want to read this month is, when I was picking all these great fun books, thought I really should start uni reading, because if I don't have one uni book read, then it's September and then we're going back. So I need to read something off my reading list, really. We have 6 plays to read. I've read 2 of them last year, so I'm not going to reread those, but out of the 4, this is kind of the one I'm most interested in, because I always had this little like argument with my A-level teacher, because I loved Hamlet and she's like, oh, it's rubbish, King Lear's so much better. So I've heard a lot of hype about King Lear, and it's also one of the shorter ones compared to Othello and the other one that's long.
Julius Caesar?
Yeah, no, that one's short.
Richard III.
Richard III is quite long, and I've just seen it, so I thought King Lear was the best option. He looks a bit distraught. Yeah, I nearly did my dissertation on like madness in Shakespeare, so I can live that out with this, hopefully. Hopefully I'll like it.
So that was our July wrap-up and our August TBR. We've had such a lovely month in July, and August is going to turn out to be pretty much the same. It's going to be so good. I hope you love all the books that we're going to read.
Let us know down below what books you're planning on reading this month, and we'll see you on the next video.
Bye!